Yeah, just speak your truth. So, how would you describe yourself to someone that's never met you?
That first off, I'm a very outgoing person. I'm a very friendly person, and though I have seen some people doubt me, like multiple people doubt me, like though it may seem that I'm not a overly intelligent black student, I am more intelligent than what I may portray.
Oh, wow. Okay, I need to tease that out a little bit more. So, why do you think people might doubt you? Why might you say something like that? What
Definitely,
taken place, or maybe give an example of that? But yeah, go ahead.
definitely because of the group of, I want to say, black individuals that I hang around, especially in my city, Brampton. Um, the black individuals here are more so considered to be rowdy, or in like lack of terms, ghetto. Whereas like, for example, if I were to be hanging around the more dominant people inside my community, which are like people of the Sikh community, Indian people in general, if I were to hang around more of those people, they'd be like, oh, he might be an intelligent kid, or he might just be like a normal kid compared to when I'm hanging out with black students in my area.
That's very interesting. So it sounds like, first of all, like it's a somewhat of a cultural thing, but also like it sounds like a stereotype, really. So do
Yeah.
you feel there's a stereotype around being a black male in your city?
In my city, I feel like there is definitely a stereotype of being a black male. Um, Not more like more so on, obviously, like as I stated before, like the ghetto like side, like whenever I go places, there is a chance that I've been like told that I'm being recorded, or for example, even at the local Hasty Market near my school, I went there to go buy a drink once and they made me empty out my entire backpack because they thought I was stealing before.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I've also had this experience, and it's interesting because a lot of these experiences that I've had as well have happened when I was a teenager. So there's something around being a teenager and fitting that type of demographic, being a black teenager, or maybe even a black male, that seems to lend itself to people sort of stereotyping. And that just is what it is. Unfortunately, it's something that I'm sure I don't even want to downplay it by saying it is what it is. It's very problematic, actually. But
Yeah.
I appreciate you being honest and open about you sometimes having to navigate that. So just like to set the stage for everybody that's listening, also, what grade are you in right now? And what would you say your favorite subject is at school?
I'm in grade 11, and right now my favorite subject, since we just ended this semester, I can't say any of my new subjects are my favorite. So I'm gonna use like an example from my past semester. My favorite subject was marketing because I am a business major at my school.
Okay, amazing. So I don't want to assume, but what would you say you most enjoy about school?
What
Um,
I'm
and what do you do right now to bring that joy, to spark that joy?
what I most enjoy about school is honestly like working together with students on like projects and assignments, and what I do to basically what I do now to bring that to light is I more so like work on like outside of school projects and curriculars with people. Like for example, I'm helping one of my friends sketch just a random character for this manga that he's writing. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, just to piggyback off that, what kind of student do you think you are? How would you describe yourself as a student?
I feel like I am a good student. There's obviously, like with every student, there's room for improvement. There's definitely room for improvement with me. But I feel
Mhm.
like if you were to ask most of my teachers, they would say that I'm a good student.
So, okay, and again, as a follow-up, when do you feel most confident at school?
I feel most confident, honestly, in presentation scenarios. So, like, because of me being a business major, I'm also inside of this extracurricular called DECA. DECA is essentially like business students taking what they know about business and implementing it in business scenarios. So like we get role plays, we get exams, and we get scored roughly out of 100 on how will we do on those, right?
Mhm.
And through DECA, I've found that I am honestly profound in coming up with new and creative ideas as well as presenting. For example, I'm in marketing right now, so presenting how to market things or presenting um presenting like products and stuff like that.
So how did you kind of recognize that? What was it that made you realize that you're like actually good at that?
Honestly, it was after I made it past regionals for my school, because going into regionals, right? They would make us do practice role plays with our DECA teachers and whatnot. And I was there, I was stressed out every time I did one. I was scared because most of my DECA teachers, they were giving me so much feedback, and that would scare, like, honestly, lots of feedback does scare me because it's like there's so much to improve on, and I don't know if I can improve on it in a short amount of time that I have. Um, yeah.
But it sounds like you were able to implement the feedback and actually do it because, like, I'm just assuming, but is that what ended up happening, or?
That's very much what ended up happening. For example, last year, since last year was my first year in DECA, um, the role play score that I got going into provincials, like I was at like literally the bottom of the bracket. I got a 66 roughly. And this
Mhm.
year, after like taking all the feedback that all my DECA teacher gave me, and implementing it as well as I could into how I understand the knowledge that I use in DECA, I went from
Yes.
a 66 last year on my role play score to roughly, not roughly, exactly at 87 this year. So
Wow. Okay, so this is interesting. So what does DECA stand for? Because I'm trying to like figure out the acronym. Do you know what it stands for?
I honestly don't know what it stands for. I tried Googling it too. It doesn't give like an exact response.
Okay, so is it DECA? Is that the
DECA.
acronym?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna see if I can do more research on that. So then, like, that's really interesting because you're talking a lot about your experience. This is, I mean, it's part of your major in a sense, but what we're talking about with DECA is something that sounds very much extracurricular. So what I want to ask you is what helps you learn best then? Is it your teachers? Is it actually being involved in this competition? Or would you say it's more like collaborating with other people, working with others, or even
I,
just being under the pressure
I feel like
of
it's a
like,
mixture of like my teachers as well as being under the pressure, because I feel like I like in certain scenarios I thrive under pressure. Like that will bring out the best in my abilities.
Mhm. So, okay, that's really interesting. Okay, so I just wonder, and what I hope is that you're not sort of putting yourself in a situation where you're trying to, I don't know, just create the stress of trying to perform by not, like, what I think about is procrastination, really. Because I used to say that about myself, and what I used to say is, yeah. I perform best when I have like this small window, when I have this deadline, and I just need to just like lock in. So it's like a fine line, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that you're not putting pressure on yourself unnecessarily that way, right? But that's really important to know about yourself, I guess, too. So we're going to talk a little bit more about DECA. Do you guys debate in DECA?
No.
So
Honestly, no.
it is a competition, though, of sorts. Do
It is a
you compete
competition.
with other schools?
Yeah, we compete against, so there's three different parts of DECA. There is regionals, provincials, and internationals. The
Okay,
regionals, there's roughly this year due to everything that's going on in the US. In my regionals, our regionals roughly made up 39% of like the entirety of Ontario. So like 39% of the schools that were in my region, so like private schools, public schools, obviously Catholic schools, because I go to a Catholic school, those were inside of my region. And then
okay.
provincials is everybody who was selected from regionals. like all over the province of Ontario. They come to this year. It's in downtown Toronto.
Mhm.
They come to downtown Toronto. We stay there for roughly 2 days. And after 10 people from each category get picked to move on to internationals, which is obviously like an international competition, everybody from around
Right.
the world is in DECA.
And is that what's being held in the US?
Yes, that's what's being held in the US.
Oh, wow. So really, you just have to, it's a competition. You have to advance basically in each stage. So
Yes,
like, it sounds like even for you guys to be in the competition in Toronto means that you had to compete and beat other teams. Is that accurate?
that is very accurate. Like for
Oh,
example, there was roughly at regionals, I'm pretty sure like 50 to 100 kids in just my category, and my category is like one of the semi to less popular categories.
so what category is that?
Um, Marketing of sports and entertainment.
Oh, wow. So that's a really interesting topic. So what are the things, what are the types of things that you guys are competing at, like in a DECA competition? Like what might you be expected to do?
Okay, so in DECA, like in total, just like a sum up, there is three
Yep.
different type of competitions. There are written competitions, there are team oral competitions, and there are individual oral competitions. Individual
Yes.
oral competitions, like everything's just broken up into two basically. So for regionals, for oral and for both the oral, so oral team, oral individual, you would have like they pick a set date and you have to write or not write but answer an 100 question exam based off of
Okay.
your category. um and then you would go to regionals. You get a case study at regionals. If you're
Mhm.
in a team oral, then you have 30 minutes to prepare. If you're just individual oral, then you get 10 minutes to prepare. And then
Wow.
after the time is up, you would go and present to a judge. I know for a fact for individuals you have 10 minutes to present and for the judge to ask you questions and answer. And for teams, I think it's 15. I'm not 100% sure. But then after
Right.
for writtens, for example, for writtens, for regionals, you have to just do the exam and you have to just score high on it. If you score high enough, then you would make it to provincials.
Wow. So in some ways there's overlap with debating, especially the oral piece, because you kind of have to like defend your position, it sounds like, and answer
Yeah.
questions maybe. People are trying to sort of see if there's any flaws in your argument or what you're saying. So that's really interesting. And honestly, I think that that's really meaningful stuff. Like when you're talking about that, it makes me think of people that are grad students and they do this like really long research paper that they literally do over like the course of years. And then at the very end, in order to get their grad certificate, they have to go defend their research in front of a bunch of uh, professors, basically, that try to just like question them and say, well, what about this? Or what about this? So that's really interesting and unique. And also, it's good practice because it feels like you're going that direction anyway. So thank you for kind of explaining that and making us all understand a little bit more what that entails. So, what has being on this team taught you, about yourself?
It has taught me, honestly, it has taught me confidence. It has taught me that I am honestly a great presenter. It has taught me that I am a very talkative person because the first, like after the first couple of role plays, I'm pretty sure I went overtime with my teachers and they were laughing at me about it. It taught me how to speak inside of a more business vocabulary. Like, for example, before I started doing like a whole bunch of role plays, on my first
Mm-hmm.
two role plays, I'm not even
Yeah.
joking, because you get marked for how much times you repeat a word. My teacher
Mm-hmm.
tallied down how much times I said like in like my I think third role play. I said like around 26 times, and I only talked for 3 minutes. Like like it was actually bad. But
Mm-hmm.
DECA has definitely taught me a lot about myself that I didn't know.
Oh, that's great. Also, because that's one of the biggest fears that people have, more so than even dying, is presenting in front of a group of people. And that's actually well documented that people really struggle with that. So the fact that you're building the skill, not only building it, but actually feel confident in doing it will help you in so many ways. And you're just now scratching the surface. So that's really really good. And so, do you feel like that brings out a different side of you, like just being involved with this type of an initiative?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I feel like it brings out a different side of me because the side of me outside of DECA is just like more enclosed. Like I obviously have like my friends that I talk to. I'm obviously still like an outgoing person, but
Mhm.
if I don't like, if me and, for example, if it's me and you, if me and you don't have anything in common and we can't just like talk and sit on a topic for like roughly half an hour, I'll become enclosed or I'll want to go home. Or even if we're just on the phone, I would
Mhm.
rather like resort to like playing video games or something like that because that's one of my favorite pastimes. Whereas for
Right.
DECA, since everybody's like so different and so intricate, like especially since I'm going to provincial soon, I'm meeting everybody around the province of Ontario. It's like there's so much new things to talk about. Like I feel like I can honestly, because like rough, like this is just like a rough stereotype of what I call myself. I feel like I can nerd out when I'm at DECA, whereas around other people I can't nerd out as much.
Wow, there's a lot there. Like it's like navigating identities, right? And I think that we know this, right? Like you're not necessarily the same person that you are with your friends, that you might be with like your family, that you might be like with your teacher. And I think that a lot of kids kind of struggle with that because it's like, no, I just want to be myself all the time. But you know, as adults, we often say this, there's a time and a place. And I just like the fact that you're embracing all those parts of you, right? Like you don't just have to be one thing. You don't just have to be the person that likes playing video games. You don't just have to be the person that might be, let's say, interested in sports or interested in DECA. Like you can be all of those things, right? And all of those things can make up your identity. And again, just touching back on the stereotypes that we touched on earlier, I think that you know, a lot of the times when we talk about black boys, there's this narrative that gets pushed that like, you know, you need to just find a sport that you're really good at. And if you're not good at this sport, and there might be something wrong with you, right? Or even just like what we're talking about in terms of like the fact that you said like so many times. And there's almost like a speech or like a code, like we should talk this way. And if we don't, then maybe you're like less black or something like that, right? Like there's some prerequisite. So I really appreciate the fact that you're noticing this stuff, you're transcending that, but you're also like not letting this one aspect of you like you're not allowing that to define you, how you are. And a lot of kids don't recognize that. Like I didn't recognize that until I was like really in university. Like I don't have to play this role for this person. Like I don't have to be this just because on TV you see black people as this, you know. And that's something that I think a lot of, you know, kids are navigating, right? No matter what their identity is, to be honest with you. But I do want to talk a little bit more about being a black student. And so, like, do you feel like there's ever any moments where you feel both sides really, where you feel really seen as everything that you are, and sometimes where you might feel invisible? And you can speak on one of those or both of those. So I'll just repeat. Do you ever feel like there's a time where you feel really seen or really invisible?
Um, Honestly, there was a time where I felt honestly like overly invisible. I can't remember which class. I'm pretty sure it was one of my English classes. I was putting in as much work as I could, even though I was struggling, I was still trying my hardest to get a good grade in the class. And no matter
Mhm.
what I did, no matter how I answered questions, my teacher would like always basically just push it to the side. Or if I wanted to answer a question because I'm confident about the question, she would pick on somebody else that was of honestly a different ethnicity because I'm pretty sure inside that class there was, including me, there's only two black kids.
Wow. And so I guess that would have been a time that you felt sort of invisible.
Yes, very invisible.
And I guess what's the flip side of that? Like I'm just keep thinking about this DECA thing. Like, and I'm just wondering, like, how did you get from like there to here now? Like what exactly happened where you were like, okay, I'm gonna try this thing? You know, if you could
Um,
maybe tell the story or part of that.
So I'm gonna tell you the whole story actually.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
grade 9, after, because I fractured my leg, I had surgery. After my surgery,
Mhm.
my guidance counselor, she put me in business class because she's like, hey, I know you like computers, but I feel like since this has computer programs in it, you would actually enjoy this a lot. Um,
Right.
so I was doing really good in the business. Like when I mean really, really good. Like I got, I'm pretty sure the highest score on the exam out of anybody. I got a 92 on the exam. And
Wow.
post exam, my teacher recommended me for DECA because how DECA works in my school compared to other schools is that you have to be recommended by a specific teacher without being asked, and then you have to go through a whole interview process, right? So
Hmm.
my business teacher recommended me, and at first I was like, you don't know, I don't even know if I like business that much, so I don't even know if I could join DECA. But one of my friends were like, you need to join. It's so much fun. It brings out so much in you. He got recommended too. So I was like, you want to what? Just for you, I'll join. And after going through the process,
Hmm.
after making the team, after going to the first couple of meetings that we had, I realized that I actually enjoy doing DECA a lot.
Wow. So that's just one of those things. It's like somebody sort of nudged you and pushed you along, and you tried something out and realized that you took a risk, really, and you tried something out and realized that you really liked it. So to any kids that are going to be listening, that's a really important message, because I have met with a lot of staff, a lot of teachers, a lot of educators, and that is an overarching theme that seems to come up, where it's like kids, like maybe your generation, maybe even younger, like are really afraid of taking risks and not being good at something. So it's like everybody just wants to be proficient at it like right away. Nobody wants to like take the steps and like be okay with being bad before they can like get good at it, right? So I think what you're saying right now is really important. Like it's a really important message for people to take in, because we don't just become good at things just for existing, right? Like you have to take a risk, and you have to be okay with not being so good at it before you become good at it, right? So thank you for sharing that. And so, having said that, I'm going to turn the corner slightly. We're still talking about, being a Black student. Do you ever feel pressure, especially now, that you're doing this kind of like high academic sort of extracurricular? Do you ever feel pressure to represent more than just yourself at school or even in these types of competitions?
Um, Sometimes yes, but most of the time no. Like at these competitions, for example, I don't feel any pressure at all because actually some of the judges are black black people, right? So like they went through the same process that I did to go through DECA, and they decided I want to keep pursuing this, so let me help some students, let me judge for them at these greater competitions, right?
Mhm.
Whereas for example at school, like a teacher would have a bad example of like a black peer of mine, right? And I feel like I would have to like hold up the black community because I feel like they would look down off of just a few bad experiences with a black student.
Yeah, and there's a saying about that. They say one bad apple spoils the whole bunch, but that doesn't mean that it's true. And really, I ask you that question because I just want to shine a light on the fact that that is the pressure that I think not just Black students, but anybody anybody that's Black that's not doing the typical thing feels. And there's two things here. Number one, I just want to reassure you that you do not have to be a representative for Black people. I don't think that's fair for you to carry that burden. But I also want to recognize the fact that what you are experiencing is also something that I feel like many Black people have to experience. Like having to, what's the word I'm looking for? Transcend that stereotype, right? Like, I know that you think of me like this, but I'm going to work my butt off to make sure that when we leave this interaction, or when you leave me, you don't still think of me as this, right? Or like you're saying, having to represent for like other peers or other people that might not be doing so well, or might not be being their best self. So yeah, I just wanted to shine a light on the fact that that's a real thing, and you don't have to carry that. And as much as like me saying that is not going to necessarily change it, it's important to think of that every once in a while and be cognizant of that. If somebody's acting up, it's not necessarily because they're Black, and you don't have to um, represent for Black people and make it seem better. Um, but I also want to touch on the fact that the representation that you're seeing from those judges at DECA, it's probably also really helpful for people like you, that maybe don't always see themselves in these types of scenarios, or in these competitions, or in these types of environments. So having said that, again, still on this topic, like, have you felt that since you started high school, do you feel like there's any teachers or adults at your school, it might not be a teacher, but that people that really get you, like all parts of you, who you
Yeah.
are?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you want to speak on that individual at all? Or is it a teacher, a guidance counselor, a mentor of some sort?
It's a teacher. She was actually my grade 10 history teacher. Um,
Mm-hmm.
though she didn't know much about me, like she just knew like a surface level of me, right? Like a average teacher to student, like day-to-day conversation type level of me. Like I feel like even though she didn't know that much, she tried her best to understand and comprehend and put what she knew out in there. Because her family, like she's like me, like she's a second generation Canadian, second generation. Her family's from Ukraine, so she's second generation Ukrainian, but she grew
Yeah.
up around a bunch of Jamaican kids. Like her entire neighborhood was filled with Jamaican kids. She told us this. So she grew up with multiple cultures, like basically battling at her. And instead of like picking one or picking the other, being like, no, this is my culture, I'm staying to this culture, she decided to embrace it all, which then led to her like basically feeling like a mentor. Like every time she talks to me, or every time when I seen her talk to like other like students, like my friend, she's always trying to like uplift us, or she's like always trying to like help us get to what, like where we need to go, or like if we tell her that we need help with something, she will do everything in her power to help us
Mm-hmm.
achieve that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really good. And I'm glad that you were able to find that person. Like, I teach middle school in large part, and I tell them, that's always my story, is that like when you guys leave here, you're not going to have a homeroom teacher that sticks with you for most of the day. And you'll be lucky to be able to connect with one teacher in high school that really actually gets you. So I will say the same thing to you. It's very lucky that you've been able to find that person. And I'm really happy that you're able to make that connection, because that does make a difference. And it's not always so easy in high school. It's really easy for kids to get lost actually in high school, in the shuffle of things. So thank you for sharing that part too. And so one thing that people don't know is that you go to Catholic school. And so I want to just touch on that just a little bit. I'm a public school teacher, you know that, but I want to know if there's parts of like the Catholic school experience, or just your school experience in general, that you feel are actually not connected, disconnected from who you are as, a Black male with all these different parts of your identity. Do you ever feel like that? Like there are parts of the school that's disconnected from you?
Honestly, no, especially my school. My school loves bringing in culture. They love bringing in like everybody's culture, what everybody believes in. um I feel like my school does an amazing job of representing all of its students to its best ability.
Okay. That's really good. I have nothing to go on because I'm just not familiar as much with the Catholic school experience. But what is something that like that you can maybe touch on that is an example of how they've brought in other cultures, or how they've affirmed, I guess, other cultures at your school?
Um, well, for example, obviously for like per high schools, every high school has its own clubs and whatnot. There's clubs for different ethnicities, for different cultural backgrounds. Like there's the Hispanic Student Association, there's the Black Student Association. East
Okay.
Asian Student Association, like just Asian Student Association. There's a lot of associations that go on in my school, right? There's also like
Right.
other religious associations. I'm pretty sure we have a Hinduism club roughly in my school. There's a Caribbean Student Association. There's a lot of
Wow.
them, right? And what my school does is,
Wow.
like, for example, because I'm doing co-op this semester, right?
Mhm.
Black student associations, if there is a co-op opportunity that would present to a black kid more, what would happen is before it reaches any of the co-op teachers, before it reaches any of the guidance counselors, it would reach our Black Student Association first. So they would let students that were going for co-op inside this in the BSU or BSA know, like, hey, there's this co-op that we think you might very much like.
Mm,
And before it gets to any of the co-op teachers. And another way that they do this is, like, another way that they represent culture just like in total is we have separate cultural days. Like, I'm pretty sure we had a Caribbean day a couple months ago, and
mhm.
we have like just like a set culture day where every kid can dress down, they can wear their flags, they can wear their religious symbols. They can There's a basically like a walk show for any people who want to wear um their cultural like outfits and
Cool.
wear.
Yeah.
There's, for example, especially as like just an example that I can remember to fresh off my head, especially since I'm Jamaican, there is a specific Jamaican patty day where they sell Jamaican patties to everybody in the school. It's a really fun time. They also, like, sometimes they group together like a few bottles of chubby. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So it's just like we take this stuff for granted, I think, um, because where we live is a very multicultural place, and I think that there's going to be people that are listening to this that are like, "Oh my God." Where there's like maybe one student club or like two student associations. And I just think it speaks to the diversity of where we live. And like in a lot of ways, that's going to give you a leg up too, I feel like, because you're having to interact and mingle and also learn about all these different identities and cultures. And what we always say in education, that can never hurt you, right? Like that's just giving you more perspective. People like travel, people travel the world to get this type of perspective, and you have it right at your school. So it's just really good to hear this kind of stuff, and also to hear that your school is like supporting that, you know? Next question is really just very, very straightforward. Um, what do you think adults misunderstand about kids your age?
I think what they do misunderstand is, honestly, at like looking at it as like 100% as a teen, as somebody who hangs around these type of people, is that
Mhm.
we do try, like, even though it might not seem like it at times, we do try our hardest no matter like what we do. Like, for example, my friend, he failed an assignment before, and
Mhm.
he was there stretching. He's like, oh, my mom not gonna believe me when I say I tried my hardest. Da, 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 da. Like, I feel like adults don't realize that even if we do get a bad grade, like, we genuinely tried our hardest to achieve the grade that we wanted. Is just most, like, not most times, but sometimes stuff just doesn't go our way.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's not for lack of trying. It sounds like um, the
Like
pressure.
the pressure of like being a good student, the pressure of being a good child, like all of it after a while of enough, like, I'm gonna be honest, after a while of enough failure or enough trial and error, it builds up into worry and, I want to say, paranoia and anxiety.
Yes, and to be fair, what I've done is I've interviewed some students at universities, and what you're saying is very accurate. I think that a lot of kids, teens, are balancing that and are navigating that. And I was hearing some horror stories, to be completely honest with you, um, just about kids dealing with the stress and the pressure of the grades and meeting those expectations. And some of them just dealing with that in less than stellar ways, right? So I think that's important for you to say that, but also for kids to be able to communicate that to the adults in their lives. So I appreciate you giving that perspective also. So having said that, then what advice then would you give to a younger student, or particularly a younger Black student that's coming up behind you?
Don't listen to what anybody says. Try your hardest. It doesn't matter if you fail. It's not like you're failing the class. It doesn't matter if you got bad on one test and your grade's at a 70. It'll go back down. You can bring it back up. Just try your hardest no matter what other people think. And don't procrastinate.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Like this whole idea of failure, it's necessary. Like it is absolutely necessary. And I'm not talking about failing a course, but failing is teaching us that we're learning. So I appreciate you saying that advice because again, we're in a society these days where like everybody's comparing and people are getting really good at making themselves look perfect all the time. And we know that there's no such thing as like a perfect person. As much as we strive to maybe get there, like it's just not realistic. So just this idea of embracing the failure, I cannot stress this enough. So thank you. It hits different coming from somebody like you, right? Than me. Like I'm older, I'm a teacher. It's like I guess it's what I'm supposed to say, so to speak. So yeah, it just sounds a bit different coming from you. And so yeah, we're gonna close very soon, but I want to ask you just a couple of questions before we go. Um, yeah, two last questions actually. If your teachers were listening to this right now, what would you want them to hear?
I would want them to hear, especially some of the teachers that I'm not doing the best in their courses. Like I have 70s, like mid 60. I would want them to hear that every one of us Black students, every one of us white students, every single student, no matter
Mhm,
how it may seem, every one of us that at least care to show up to class on time, who care to like actually look at the assignment rubric, who care to actually look at the worksheet, who care to actually try and study. All of us
mhm.
are trying our hardest, though it may not seem like it, though it may seem like, oh, he's a slacker. Like we're genuinely trying our hardest. Like we have our difficulties that we are working through, but we are still trying to work past them.
I love that. That is so true. We're doing the best that we can do. And then finally, to close, what does success look like for you right now? What does that
Right
look like?
right now in this day and age, success aside from book smarts, success looks to me like um not having any work to do, like living like honestly just living like a kid. Because life, my parents keep telling me this and I'm realizing this now, like now that I'm halfway done my grade 11 year, um
Mhm,
life moves way too quick, especially when you're a kid. Because though like you're thinking that your parents are nagging you about doing your homework, you think that like you getting in trouble is just your parents trying to like bully you or bother you. Like they're really trying to set you up for adulthood because life moves too short. Like I promise you, I could still remember the first day of school this year, like as if it was yesterday, and that was five
mhm,
months ago. So like just
mhm.
life just moves really, really fast.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna double down on that. It's important to um, yeah, don't skip these years. Like be a teenager, be a kid, do all the things that teenagers and kids do. Like you're saying, make those mistakes, have those failures, because this is kind of your formative years, the time for you to learn and grow. Um, and too many kids these days are racing to become an adult. And I always say to kids, you know, with the independence also comes the responsibility. You cannot have one without the other. So if you're racing to be able to go out and stay out and do this and do what you want to do, just know that that also has to be balanced with responsibilities, right? So that's a really important message too. Just like don't just enjoy where you're at. Like kind of like be present and stop and smell the roses. So I appreciate that. Anyway, all of that to say, I really appreciate you doing this. You are the youngest voice that we have had on this, and I am so happy to showcase your voice because you are my nephew, and this will be out during Black History Month. And so for anybody watching, please like and subscribe and comment and share. And yeah, Nacoi, honestly, I only wish you amazing things in your life. I just feel like this is like the beginning of really, really big things. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your grade 11. Grade 12 is going to be even more pressure, but I feel like you're going to be able to handle it. So honestly, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll talk to you later, and I know you have other stuff to do, so I'm going to leave it there and see you later.
See you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.